This is a one agenda item meeting to discuss the most recent response from the Minister regarding the Farm Sustainability Transitional Provision Regulations Northern Ireland 2025. After that discussion, we will determine if a committee consensus exists on these draft regulations. So if you're content, I'm going to now go into meeting in public session. Okay, thank you. We do have quorum, Clark. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm going to advise those in the public gallery that if they're welcome to use mobile devices as long as they are in airplane mode, and that all devices are muted and it is not permitted to take photographs or record any part of the meeting. I'm just going to ask for any declarations of interest that have not already been declared at our first meeting that are relevant to the matters under discussion this week. I believe all the declarations have indeed been made. Okay, agenda item 1 would be apologies. I know that Patsy was running late, but he is en route. And no members attending via Zoom. Okay. That's the record there, Clark. Agenda item 2, which is the Farm Sustainability Transitional Provision Regulations. Members, I refer you to a number of papers for this item.
They were sent out in the pack.
They were sent out in the pack. The only new item really is the most recent letter from the Minister in response to our urgent request from our meeting last Thursday. The Minister's response was also issued by email from the Clerk on Friday evening. The papers that you have are the draft SR, the Farm Sustainability Transitional Provision Regulations, Northern Ireland 2025 as revised, the Examiner of Statutory Rules report, which was issued on Friday, a note of the informal meeting held last Monday between the Minister, myself and the Deputy Chair, the follow-up letter from the Minister after that formal meeting, the urgent letter to the Department sent after our meeting on Thursday covering remaining concerns, and the Minister's response to that urgent letter sent to you all on Friday evening. Members, for the record, at last week's meeting on Thursday the 13th of February, I ran through a summary of our considerations of these matters to date. If you wish, I can repeat that summary again, or we can move straight to a discussion of the draft SR and the Minister's most recent response, and I'm in your hands in that regard. Any preferences?
Going ahead.
Going ahead, yeah. Happy enough that we've... Okay, thank you. Okay, members, we're now in possession of the Examiner of Statutory Rules' most recent report issued on Friday the 14th of February, which confirms that the revised regulations are not required to be drawn to the special attention of the Assembly under Standing Order 43(6). We're also in possession of the Department's response to the urgent queries we made after our meeting on Thursday. And in response to the committee queries, the Department highlights a number of points that include the new entrant category of the RR scheme received on average 10 applicants per annum from those that held no entitlements in the year of application, and its continuation cannot be justified on a value for money basis. The new Farming for Generations programme includes a component to connect potential new entrants with farm businesses who wish to enter long-term lease or other arrangements. Thirdly, it is the Department's experience that there are only a small number of new entrants to farming, i.e. those with no previous connection to farming, such as working on the family farm. It will continue to be possible for young farmers and new entrants to commence a new business and obtain entitlements via purchase or lease. Fourthly, the presence or absence of the RR provisions for young farmers and new entrants will make no significant difference to the gap between entitlements and land area available. In addition, there were significantly more entitlements. If there were significantly more entitlements, they would all have to be reduced in value as the amount of money available to the scheme will not increase. Members, the committee requested details of the consequences if the regulations were not approved in plenary on the 18th of February and the time pressures on the SR. The Department states that if the regulations are not approved, the FSTP scheme cannot launch on the 3rd of March 2025 as planned. This will delay the opening of the BPS, and as a result, payments currently scheduled for circa September 2025 may not issue until late November 2025. And the regulations also introduced a number of additional changes and policies to enable the continued rollout of the Sustainable Agriculture Programme in 2025. This includes the commencement of the Suckler Cow Scheme, Farming with Nature and New Knowledge Schemes. These schemes will not commence as planned if the regulations are not approved. Members, have you any comments to make on the most recent response from the Department or any other matter in relation to this SR? I just want to open up the floor for any further discussion now that we have the responses.
Chair.
Yep. Deputy Chair.
Yeah, I note the Minister's response. Still, I'm concerned that there is still no real direct financial support for new entrants. You're forcing new entrants to purchase entitlements of existing farmers, and whilst the scheme does focus on succession, I don't see any like financial support allocated to the new entrants. You know, and it's okay, like say, if you're already within the system, you can inherit it. But as people who want to start farming from scratch, you know, and there's also, I suppose, this difficulty too if it could impact the price of entitlements. If a young farmer wants to come into the scheme and, you know, other farmers are holding them, and there's a demand from that, could drive the price up, and that wouldn't necessarily be for success there. So I note that those are still concerns that are still have, and I also note the wider implications of this not passing. So I think it's a very challenging situation for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the minister did try and allay some of those fears in terms of, but there is still potentially a gap because it doesn't join up the dates, and the point that you make is fact. There will be no additional support for new entrants. Michelle, did you want?
Yeah, very similar, I suppose, in my concern in the fact that there hasn't really been any movement from we raised the concerns a few weeks ago, and all it is just a further explanation that we were already aware of. So there's nothing really new in any of the correspondence that we've received over the last couple of weeks. Although inside that, I'm still concerned. We're at a cliff edge now with regards to making a decision, and there are consequences if we weren't to go forward with the scheme, and that worries me that we've been placed in this position. And also, the points made really in the opening paragraph. You know, the fact that there isn't any opportunity for us to make any changes to this because it is an SR as opposed to primary legislation. So the committee is very much tied as to whether we sort of throw this out and you're essentially throwing the baby out the bathwater. So we're not in a great place, I think. But I am concerned about.
Sorry, yes, Chair. Just saying, yes, Chair, it's all or nothing with an SR. It's either supported or not supported.
Yeah, there's certainly the gravity to the fact that if the delay in this, as we're being told, will affect the payments come November, or delay them until November, which is a significant delay for farmers in that regard. I think the points are fair that are being made. We're just in a tight spot with this. Anybody else anything they want to add at this stage?
Other Chair, what hasn't been mentioned and taken on board completely what Michelle there said about the cliff edge, I think are the words that we used. The people, the groups and representative groups that sit on the stakeholder forum have expressed their contentment at least once to the committee and in writing, and that becomes more serious in terms of a cliff edge if we're seen to be causing a delay on a matter with which they are happy.
Chair, just a quick one from me, and I think I raised this about a fortnight ago in relation to the stakeholder group. I don't know if we did in a way had asked that we write to the department to see when the last time the stakeholder group met. Did we get any correspondence back from them?
There was. I'm pretty sure there was.
No response yet.
All right, okay. I was pretty sure we'd asked for it. And also, in some of the evidence sessions, there's something rattling about my head of August last year, but that could be totally obviously it's a Monday morning and trying to engage the brain here, but yeah, I know we did discuss it and we've written out, but there was something in my brain that was like August of last year that was the last time, but could be wrong. And to be fair to John, the fact is that they did respond and were part of that consultation and did respond favourably.
Days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And those responses are very recent.
And again, we have written out a couple of weeks ago to each of them individually. Some of them have come back with almost like a nil return. What is the up to date position actually with the correspondence? I imagine some of the groups just haven't.
Yes,
Haven't
Chair,
responded?
four came back.
Four came
all
back?
in support, yes,
Okay.
Of the main email. Do you know what I mean? That came from the APSG,
Yeah.
the overarching email.
Excuse me, Janice, 4 came back. Did they say anything?
Just that they were in support
It's
of the
Okay.
draft affirmative
Ah.
SR and in support of the email that we'd had
All
from the APSG chair.
Do you know offhand just the groups that responded, those
I
4?
think- Oh, you haven't got your. Sorry, I can
Sure, we
look it
can-
up and let you. We had the chair. We had them in the
Oh, no,
pack
nip up and
last
get it,
week,
or
but
what?
I'll need to.
The Farmers Union and the LMC are 2 of them, if you remember.
Yeah, Environment Link ring is also came back.
EFU, LMC, Environment Link.
Link and
Yeah,
the
there's
Grain Association chair.
In associate. Oh, aye, right.
If that's that may not be quite the accurate name.
Yes.
No, I
Grain.
know who it is. Aye.
Yeah. So that was the 4. Sorry, we're okay. Thanks.
Sure, just from my own point of view, I don't want to be doing anything that is going to delay payments or hold up
That's-
payments or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, because farmers are getting it tight enough at the minute. So,
It's a significant step, this, because that is a real quandary, because there's certainly nobody will want to do that, but the other side of this is it closes the door on new entrants completely. And there's a bit that stood out for me, and we had a really good presentation from the department. To be fair, on Thursday I thought it was a great presentation, but in terms of the stuff that's still to be built around this after the SR passes, which is some of those regulations that are going to be pertaining to what you do on a farm, which still haven't been bottomed out and are still part of that stakeholder engagement and stuff. And one that I'd been made aware of, which was that stacking the bales, no more than 2 high, and if you've restricted space, could you fall foul of, penalties and so on in that regard. And obviously you have to work your way through these. I understand that, but this is a.
Sure. The other thing I think is important to also note as well is, again, I do feel that this will definitely make it more difficult for young farmers who haven't got family land to enter farming. We haven't seen the shape of the new scheme yet. And also, it places us at a further disadvantage till our counterparts down south. Down south, they still have the young farmers scheme where, and also new entrants can apply for free entitlements out of a regional reserve. So it puts us at a further disadvantage to the south as well. Again, those are serious concerns, though that the scheme is for going before we see the new scheme. It just puts us at further disadvantage.
Okay. I mean, there's not going to be a whole lot more information come to us, guys, in regard to this meeting. So I'm not going to just maybe keep it open for another couple of minutes, but certainly by 10:30, if there's no further indication, we'll just have to put the question to ourselves again in terms of where the committee is, because it's the information we've been around the houses a little bit on this, more than a little bit probably, and there'll be a debate in the chamber. The committee just needs to either have a position or not, and we're going to reflect that. And it's just a shame. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be a difficult one, because we don't want to delay payments. Probably if there had been something that could have been done in and around the young farmers, just even, she said, the regional reserve, something to get the minister's point in regard to the very little uptake in this last couple of years, but at the same time we're copper fastening the door here legislatively.
Chair, is it the case that, I think from memory, there are 2 things here I want to say. First of all, I think the figures we had at our last meeting was 5 individuals had availed of the Young Farmers Scheme, but something like 120 had applied for the pilot scheme of the Farming for Generation. And then in addition to that, there's the value for money element of that, and I'm not aware that we have much detail on the rationale behind that, but there's clearly a value for money element to this, because the department have quoted this a number of times. I don't remember examples of that, but it's still something I think we're bound to take seriously if it's been flagged by the department as a financial stroke value for money issue.
Yep, and that's evidently a part of the Minister's responsibility and ours to ensure that there is value for money, for taxpayers' money as well. So part of it is about keeping that opportunity open, but as John raises the point, if there's no uptake in it and there's a cost to it, we've got to strike that balance as well, guys. Okay. If there's any other points that anybody wants to make before I do just put this to you guys as committee? Okay. So we've got party meetings as well.
I think Chair, I think it is disappointing though that we did raise concerns a number of weeks ago and those weren't taken on board at all. And I think again kind of comes to that situation where we're left with very little time and we're pushed into a situation where we basically have no choice in the decision that we make because of the consequences that are that it leads to. And again, I suppose it's about reiterating that to the department that they are placing us in a very difficult position.
Yeah, and Chair, it is disappointing that the Minister didn't, or the Department didn't respond to the issues of concern that has been raised. Been raised over a number of weeks, and we are in a difficult position this morning, and I think it's a matter where the Minister and the Department are riding roughshod over the committee, because it leaves the committee in a difficult, very, very difficult position as to how we take this case forward, and it's coming before the House tomorrow. And that leaves us in a difficult position. But I think in future, issues like this need to be dealt with and thrashed out with committee agreement or otherwise in much more time, given much more time before the Minister actually comes and puts something down before the House, and leaving the committee in such a position as we're in this morning.
On this, and I wouldn't politic, but I totally agree with you, Tom, because this would have moved a couple of weeks ago had the Minister had the ability to do it, because obviously we've and the SR needed to be changed, and even in that couple of weeks we've had some useful discussions, not necessarily having borne fruit, but at the same time gives us more information. There is an absolute pinch point in this, guys. Is there any other points want to be made before we just make a decision? And again, the committee can choose to support it, not support it, or just say that a range of voices were said but didn't come to a consensus. But we might come to consensus. I mean, I'm just going to put the question to you first of all, if that's okay. Yes.
It's possible just to reflect in the speech that there clearly isn't a consensus without forcing a vote or going to a vote.
Yeah, I've no issue with that, because I haven't. So what I've picked up is there's great uncertainty this morning. There's still uncertainty in regard to the longer term impacts of this, notwithstanding the fact that the Minister's also in a position to, we've got tight constrained budgets, the payments need to go out the door in September.
Maybe the Minister might say something tomorrow that will help alleviate some of the uncertainty.
Yeah. Okay. So
if we're going to reach that inconclusive position, and I'm not going to argue necessarily against it, can we reflect then as well that some of us felt that the committee had, I'm aware of the points raised around time frames, and all of us will have different need according to how many times we need to discuss something, but I would be grateful if the first time the committee was briefed is reflected in any report, because it may have been as much as as far away as last June. It was certainly some time ago. Yeah. And so we have many months of prior notice to reflect, and also the fact that in recent weeks we've discussed this at least 3 and probably 4 times, including with
That was
intentional.
the SAP.
was it last June?
Yeah, last May.
Last May,
Okay.
23rd of May.
Look, I'm not saying this to make a point other than it's fair that the views of some of us would be reflected, that I think that's ample time. Others may not, and that's hey-ho, that's the way it goes. But in addition to the prior notice of last May and the initial discussions at that stage, there were also at least 3 and possibly 4 recent discussions, some of which had officials present.
Yeah, so I think will definitely reflect the accuracy of the discussions that have been going on. The issue for me is that the early briefings and intentions are very high level. It's when you get to the SR and stuff. That's when the rubber hits the road. And that's
Kind of 3 or 4
Yeah.
locations there.
yeah.
Okay.
Happy enough. Content, guys. So we're basically going to reflect that there's been a lot of work done on this, and that we didn't reach a consensus, and I'll reflect that in my words tomorrow, and then obviously I speak for the All Students Party at the other side of that, and we'll take a vote on that, and we'll reflect this back to the Minister today, because obviously if there's an opportunity for the Minister to include any confidence when he moves it tomorrow in regard, but I'm not sure how they can do, because obviously if it's not written down, as I've learned before in legislation, if it's not written down, words are like, you know, they don't carry a whole lot of weight at times, but to be fair, he has been communicating. He hasn't been hiding on this one either. So,
Chair, could I just say, so you didn't reach a consensus, but there's a consensus on not to take a vote today in here?
I'd say it was evident that there wasn't a consensus, so a vote wasn't taken.
Okay.
Are you content with those words, guys? It was evident that there wasn't a consensus, so the chair didn't take a vote.
Okay.
And that can be reflected in the words tomorrow. And yeah, good. Aoife, I hope you're not texting centrally to get onto a different committee now. Okay. Any other business? I have one item, guys, just in regard to the avian flu, and that if I'm going to suggest a write to the Minister this morning as ask for an urgent update for the committee. Sounds that okay? Anything else in any other business, guys?
Nope.
Sorry, Chair, I maybe missed that, and my apologies, my alternator went there. But so what was the outcome then with regard to the avian flu? Because clearly a couple of the outbreaks are in Mid-Ulster.
All I've done is I'm asking for an update urgently from the Minister for the committee.
All right,
That's all
grand.
yeah.
Aye.
Content.
There's no discussion.
I know he had the chief vet on site until late last night.
Yes.
And he was on the radio this morning, and he contacted myself and Declan there yesterday. So if we can get through the committee, is that okay?
So just another issue, I suppose, is the issue of the sufficient or significant fish kill in Glenmornan River.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
That has been come forward, and it is a matter of concern. And of course, I think the Minister did put out something on that, and is looking into it at this moment in time.
How do you spell the name of the river?
Glenmornan.
Glenmornan.
Or NAN, Glen Morning.
Got it, yeah.
Thank you.
We'll teach you
Lockseason
about
area,
West
John,
Road.
Lockseason area,
Anything else, guys?
We're learning about these West Road place names yet. Tom,
They need to come down to West Road.
Easy on now, come on.
Get the pronunciation right too, Tom.
Okay, guys.
You have to get the
Thank you so much.
pronunciation right too.
Committee Room 30. Sound.